Hello there, and welcome. I am so glad you are here. Tonight, we drift into the shadows of the Conjuring Universe, a world where demons walk among us, where ancient evil waits behind locked doors, where the line between our world and something far darker grows thin. Let this be your moment to settle in. The world outside can wait. We are exploring every demon, every spirit, every malevolent entity that has haunted the screens and the nightmares of millions. If you enjoy what we do here, subscribing helps us reach 1,000 subscribers, and it would mean the world. Now, let's begin. Before we meet the demons themselves, we must first understand the world they inhabit and the people who dared to confront them. Ed and Lorraine Warren were not characters created for cinema. They were real people, a husband and wife from Connecticut who spent decades investigating claims of the paranormal. Ed Warren was a self-taught demonologist, a man who studied the nature of evil with the fervor of a scholar and the faith of a believer. Lorraine Warren possessed something different, a gift she carried since childhood, the ability to see beyond what others could see. She was a clairvoyant, someone who perceived auras and spirits, who felt the presence of entities that remained invisible to the rest of us. Together, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research in 1952, and over the following decades, they would investigate thousands of cases, from simple hauntings to full demonic possessions. Their names became synonymous with the supernatural, their case files forming the foundation upon which an entire cinematic universe would be built. The Warrens operated in a world that most people preferred to ignore, a world where faith and fear intersected in the most profound ways. Ed Warren held a unique distinction. He was recognized by the Catholic Church as a demonologist despite never being ordained as a priest. This was exceedingly rare, a testament to the respect he had earned through years of careful work alongside clergy members during exorcisms and investigations. Lorraine's abilities complemented his knowledge perfectly. She could sense the presence of evil, could feel when something inhuman had taken root in a home or a person. She described her visions as overwhelming at times, as if the weight of another realm pressed against her mind. In interviews, she spoke of seeing auras around people since she was a young girl, colors and energies that told her things about their spiritual state. This gift, or perhaps this burden, would lead her into direct confrontation with some of the most powerful demons the universe has ever known. In the theology of the Conjuring Universe, demons are not merely monsters or malevolent spirits. They are fallen angels, beings that once served in the presence of God before they chose rebellion. When the angel Lucifer rose against heaven, he gathered followers, other angels who shared his pride and his defiance. The war that followed ended with their defeat and their exile, cast down from the celestial realm into the darkness below. In this fall, they were transformed. The light that once defined them was stripped away, replaced by something twisted and hungry. They became demons, entities of pure malice who exist now only to corrupt, to possess, to destroy. This origin story runs through the entire Conjuring universe, connecting entities as different as the demonic nun Valak and the ram-headed horror known as Malthus. They share a common history, a common fall, and a common hatred for humanity and for the God who created both angels and mortals. Understanding the hierarchy of hell helps us comprehend the varying levels of power we encounter in these films. Not all demons are equal. Some command legions of lesser spirits, while others operate alone, bound to objects or locations. The ancient grimoire known as the Lesser Key of Solomon, a text dating back centuries, catalogs 72 demons and their ranks within the infernal hierarchy. Presidents of hell, earls, dukes, princes, each title denoting a different level of authority and strength. Valak, for instance, is described in this text as a Grand President of Hell, commanding 38 legions of demons. Malthus, known in the grimoire as Malphas, holds the rank of President as well, with 40 legions beneath him. These are not minor spirits. These are generals in an army of darkness, ancient intelligences with powers far beyond human comprehension. When the Warrens faced such entities, they were not merely confronting ghosts. They were standing before beings that had existed since before humanity took its first breath. The difference between ghosts and demons is crucial to understanding the threats that appear throughout these films. A ghost is the spirit of a human being who has died, someone whose soul lingers for various reasons, perhaps unfinished business, perhaps confusion, perhaps a violent or traumatic death that anchors them to the physical world. Ghosts can be benign or malicious, helpful or harmful, but they were once human. They retain some essence of the person they were in life. Demons, however, were never human. They have never experienced mortality, never known the warmth of human connection or the limitations of a physical body except when they take one by force. This makes them fundamentally different in their nature and their goals. A ghost might haunt a location. A demon seeks to possess, to claim souls, to spread suffering as an end in itself. When the Warrens determined that a case involved demonic activity rather than a simple haunting, they knew the stakes had risen dramatically. Possession is perhaps the most terrifying manifestation of demonic power, the process by which an inhuman entity takes control of a human body and soul. In the Conjuring Universe, possession does not happen randomly. Demons cannot simply enter anyone they choose. There must be an invitation, even if that invitation is given unknowingly. Playing with a Ouija board, participating in occult rituals, expressing extreme negative emotions like hatred or despair, these can all open doors that should remain closed. Sometimes the invitation is more direct, as when Arne Johnson begged a demon to leave a child and take him instead. Once a demon gains entry, it works in stages, first infestation, making its presence known through disturbances and phenomena, then oppression, targeting an individual with physical and psychological attacks, and finally possession, taking complete control. The Warrens witnessed all three stages multiple times throughout their careers, learning the signs, the patterns, the terrible progression of demonic conquest. The power of names runs deep in the theology of this universe, a concept that echoes through centuries of religious and occult tradition. To know a demon's true name is to have power over it. This is why demons hide their identities, appearing in disguises, using proxies, manipulating situations to keep their names secret. When Lorraine Warren finally discovered that the entity tormenting her was called Valak, it was not merely information, it was a weapon. Speaking the name during an exorcism weakens the demon, strips away some of its protection, makes it vulnerable to the power of faith and prayer. This is why so much of the Warrens' work involved investigation and research. Before they could banish an entity, they often had to discover what it truly was. The demon might appear as a nun, as a crooked man, as a shadow in the corner of a room, but beneath all masks, there was a name, and that name was the key to victory. The artifacts in the Warren Occult Museum represent decades of confrontations with the supernatural, objects too dangerous to destroy and too powerful to ignore. The museum existed in the basement of the Warrens' Connecticut home, a collection that grew over the years to include hundreds of items. Each object in that room carries a history of suffering and darkness. There are cursed idols from distant lands, toys that moved on their own, clothing worn during violent possessions. The room is blessed regularly, prayers spoken over every inch of space, because the objects within still contain residual evil. They are not trophies. They are prisoners, contained behind glass and holy protection so they cannot harm anyone else. The most famous resident of this museum, of course, is a simple-looking Raggedy Ann doll that sits behind a glass case with a handwritten warning. A doll that has become the face of supernatural horror for millions of viewers around the world. Now, we turn to the entity that has become the most iconic demon in the Conjuring Universe, the being known as Valak, who takes the form of a demonic nun to mock the faith of those who oppose it. Valak first appeared to audiences in The Conjuring 2, though within the timeline of the universe, its activities stretch back much further. The demon's choice to manifest as a nun is deliberate and cruel. By wearing the habit and veil of a woman who has devoted her life to God, Valak corrupts something sacred, transforms a symbol of holiness into an instrument of terror. Lorraine Warren, a deeply religious woman, found herself tormented by visions of this spectral nun for years, her faith weaponized against her. The pale face, the hollow eyes rimmed with darkness, the teeth that seem too sharp for any human mouth. Every aspect of Valak's appearance is designed to unsettle and disturb. This is not a demon that hides in shadows. This is a demon that wears its blasphemy openly. The origins of Valak stretch back to a Romanian monastery known as the Abbey of St. Curța, a place built centuries ago by a duke whose obsession with dark magic would doom the location forever. This duke, whose name history has largely forgotten, used the catacombs beneath the monastery to attempt a summoning, seeking to bring forth a demonic entity from the depths of hell itself. His ritual was interrupted by members of the Vatican who had learned of his intentions. They killed the Duke before his work could be completed, and sealed the rift he had opened using a relic containing the blood of Christ. For hundreds of years, this seal held. The monastery continued to function, becoming home to an order of nuns who dedicated their lives to prayer and contemplation, unaware of the darkness that waited beneath their feet. The seal remained intact until the 20th century brought a new kind of destruction to Romania. During the Second World War, bombs fell upon the Abbey of St. Curța, and the ancient seal cracked under the force of modern warfare. What the Duke had tried to summon finally broke free, rising from the catacombs into a monastery full of women who had devoted themselves to God. Valak's emergence was not subtle. The demon began to possess and torment the nuns one by one, driving some to madness and others to take their own lives rather than be claimed. The Vatican received word of the disturbances and sent investigators, a priest named Father Burke, and a young novitiate named Sister Irene. What they found was a monastery under siege, a place where shadows moved with purpose and the dead did not rest. The events of the nun chronicle their desperate attempt to seal Valak away once more, to contain an evil that had waited centuries for release. Sister Irene possessed something that made her uniquely suited to face Valak, though she did not understand it at the time. She carried visions, premonitions of things to come, a gift that connected her to something beyond ordinary perception. In the Nun de Secu, we learn the truth behind these abilities. Sister Irene was a descendant of Saint Lucy, a holy woman whose bloodline Valak had been hunting for generations. The eyes of Saint Lucy held power against the demon, power that had been passed down through her descendants. This revelation connected Sister Irene to another woman who shared her gift, a woman who would spend decades fighting the supernatural in America, Lorraine Warren. The two women were related through this ancient bloodline, both carrying abilities that Valak feared and hated. This connection explains why Valak pursued Lorraine so relentlessly, why the demon appeared in her visions, why it sought to destroy her and her husband. They were not random targets. They were enemies whose power was written in their very blood. The confrontation between Valak and the Warrens reached its most intense point during the case known as the Enfield Poltergeist, depicted in The Conjuring 2. The Hodgson family in England had been experiencing terrifying phenomena, furniture moving on its own, strange voices speaking through their daughter Janet, an oppressive presence that filled their modest home with dread. The Warrens traveled across the Atlantic to investigate, believing at first that they were dealing with the ghost of a man named Bill Wilkins who had died in the house years before. Bill's spirit did indeed haunt the location, an old man who had passed away in his favorite chair and could not accept that strangers now lived in his home. But Bill Wilkins was not the true threat. He was a puppet, his ghost manipulated by something far more powerful that hid behind his familiar form. Valak had followed Lorraine Warren from America, using the Enfield case as an opportunity to destroy her and her husband, wearing the ghost of Bill Wilkins like a mask while orchestrating chaos from the shadows. The demon's strategy was elegant in its cruelty. By making the Warrens believe they were dealing with a simple haunting, Valak bought time to strengthen its hold on the Hodgson home and on Janet herself. The girl became a conduit for both Bill Wilkins and the demon, her body speaking in voices not her own, her limbs moving in ways that defied natural anatomy. Ed Warren suffered a heart attack during the investigation, weakened by his proximity to such concentrated evil. Lorraine was plagued by visions of her husband's death, images that Valak planted in her mind to break her spirit and her faith. The demon knew that Lorraine's gift of sight could be turned against her, that showing her the death of the man she loved most would leave her paralyzed with fear. For a time, the strategy worked. Lorraine withdrew, terrified that her involvement would lead to Ed's demise exactly as her visions foretold. But faith proved stronger than fear. Lorraine Warren returned to the Hodgson home for a final confrontation, armed with knowledge that would change everything. Through her visions, she had glimpsed the demon's true identity, had seen the name written in her husband's own hand in a painting he had created while possessed by prophetic dreams. The name was Valak. Speaking it aloud during the climactic battle stripped the demon of its power to hide, forced it to reveal its true nature, and gave Lorraine the authority to banish it back to the darkness from which it came. The exorcism succeeded. Janet Hodgson was freed, and the Warrens returned home having faced one of the most powerful entities of their careers. But Valak was not destroyed. Demons of such magnitude cannot be killed by mortal hands. They can only be banished, pushed back into hell until they find another opportunity to emerge. And Valak would find many such opportunities. Valak's ability to take multiple forms makes it particularly dangerous among the demons of this universe. While its most iconic appearance is the demonic nun, with pale skin and yellowed eyes surrounded by rings of darkness, the entity has shown itself capable of other manifestations. In The Conjuring 2, it also appeared as the Crooked Man, a nightmarish figure drawn from an English nursery rhyme. This creature emerged from a zoetrope, an antique spinning toy that created the illusion of animation, transforming from a simple illustration into a towering, impossibly thin monster that moved in jerking, unnatural ways. The crooked man was Valak, wearing yet another mask, using childhood imagery to terrorize the Hodgson children, turning something innocent into something horrifying. This adaptability suggests an intelligence that studies its victims, learning what frightens them most, and becoming that fear made flesh. Against such an enemy, courage alone is not enough. One must also have knowledge and faith in equal measure. The connection between Valak and the possessed man known as Frenchie, or Maurice, reveals how patient demons can be in their pursuit of destruction. At the end of The Nun, Sister Irene and Father Burke believed they had defeated Valak, sealing it away with the blood of Christ and saving the abbey from its influence. What they did not realize was that Valak had already claimed a new host. Maurice, the local man who had helped them navigate the monastery and its horrors, carried an inverted cross on the back of his neck, a mark of possession that went unnoticed in the chaos of their victory. For years afterward, Valak lived within Maurice, biding its time, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge. It was Maurice who would eventually be brought before the Warrens for exorcism, the footage of which appears briefly in The Conjuring. When Ed and Lorraine finally freed him from the demon's grasp, Maurice's body could not survive the separation. He died shortly after, another victim claimed by an entity that measures time in centuries rather than years. Valak's pursuit of the eyes of St. Lucy and the nun Senin demonstrated the demon's willingness to play a long game spanning generations. The relic containing the saint's eyes held power that could permanently harm Valak, perhaps even destroy it, and so the demon hunted the descendants of St. Lucy across centuries, eliminating them one by one to ensure the relic could never be used against it. Sister Irene's survival represented a threat that Valak could not ignore, which is why the demon emerged once more in 1956, 4 years after the events of the first Nun film. The battle that followed pushed Sister Irene to embrace abilities she had spent her life suppressing, to accept that her visions and her bloodline made her uniquely equipped to stand against this ancient evil. With the help of those who believed in her, she was able to turn Valak's own weapon against it, using wine transformed into the blood of Christ to burn the demon and free Maurice from his possession once more. But, as with all confrontations with Valak, victory came at a terrible cost. Now we turn to another entity that has become synonymous with the Conjuring Universe, the demon known as Malthus, who attached itself to a simple porcelain doll and transformed it into one of the most dangerous artifacts the Warrens ever encountered. The Annabelle doll is not what most people expect when they first hear about it. In the films, she appears as a vintage porcelain doll with wide, staring eyes and an unsettling smile, the kind of antique that might seem merely creepy rather than actively malevolent. But within that ceramic shell resides an entity of considerable power, a demon that has claimed multiple lives and nearly claimed many more. The true Annabelle doll, the one that sits in the Warren Occult Museum, looks nothing like her cinematic counterpart. She is a Raggedy Ann doll, soft and floppy, with a friendly, painted face that belies the darkness within. The filmmakers chose to change her appearance because they believed audiences would not find a Raggedy Ann doll frightening enough. They underestimated how deeply evil can hide within innocent forms. The demon within Annabelle goes by the name Malthus, though this name is never spoken aloud in the films. It appears only briefly, visible for a moment in a book on demonology that one of the characters reads in the first Annabelle film. The illustration shows a ram-headed demon looming over an infant. its claws reaching toward the child, and beside the image is the name Malthus. This demon is based on Malthus from traditional demonology, a great president of hell who commands 40 legions of spirits and appears in the Lesser Key of Solomon as a raven that can take human form. In the Conjuring Universe, Malthus manifests differently, as a dark humanoid figure with the head and horns of a ram, eyes that glow with sickly light, and an aura of absolute malevolence. This is the true face behind the doll, the predator that waits within ceramic and cloth for opportunities to feed on human souls. The story of how Malthus came to inhabit the Annabelle doll is told in Annabelle Creation, a tale of grief exploited and faith betrayed. Samuel and Esther Mullins were a couple who had everything until tragedy took their young daughter Bee in a terrible accident. Consumed by grief, they prayed desperately for any way to see their child again, to hear her voice, to feel her presence in their empty home. Something answered their prayers, but it was not God, and it was not the spirit of their daughter. Malthus came wearing Bee's face, speaking with her voice, pretending to be the child they had lost. The Mullins, blinded by their desperate need, allowed this entity to attach itself to a doll that Samuel had crafted, a porcelain figure made in their daughter's likeness. They believed they were keeping a piece of Bee alive. In truth, they had invited a demon into their home, one that would eventually reveal its true nature in the most horrifying ways imaginable. For a time, Malthus maintained the pretense of being their daughter, but demons are not patient by nature, and this one eventually grew tired of the charade. When the Mullins realized what they had truly welcomed into their lives, it was too late. Esther was attacked by the entity, left grievously wounded and bedridden for the rest of her life. Samuel sealed the room containing the doll and covered the walls with pages from the Bible, hoping that prayer and holy words would contain what they had unleashed. He invited a group of nuns and orphaned girls to live in their home, believing that the presence of faith and innocence would strengthen the barriers he had erected. For years, his plan seemed to work. The doll remained locked away, the demon contained behind blessed seals and scripture. But such prisons are never permanent when the prisoner is as cunning as Malthus. Among the orphans who came to the Mullins home was a girl named Janice, who walked with a leg brace due to childhood polio and often felt isolated from the other children. Malthus sensed her vulnerability, her loneliness, her desperate need to belong and be loved. The demon reached out to her, appearing first as the ghost of Bee Mullins, a friendly presence that offered companionship to a child who had none. Janice was drawn to the sealed room, manipulated into breaking the barriers that had held for so long. Once inside, she encountered the doll and the demon within it, and Malthus claimed her as its new vessel. The possession of Janice was not immediate, but gradual, the demon wearing away at her identity until almost nothing of the original girl remained. When she was finally adopted by a new family under the name Annabelle Higgins, she carried the demon with her into the world, and the cycle of horror continued. The first Annabelle film takes place years later, showing us what happened when Annabelle Higgins, fully possessed by Malthus, joined a satanic cult called the Disciples of the Ram. This cult sought to summon demonic forces through blood sacrifice, and Annabelle provided them with a direct connection to hell itself. When Annabelle and another cult member invaded the home of John and Mia Form, they brought violence and darkness with them. Annabelle took her own life while clutching the doll that shared her adopted name, and in doing so, she transferred the demonic attachment fully into the object. The doll became a beacon, drawing supernatural activity wherever it went, tormenting the Form family with manifestations that escalated from strange occurrences to direct attacks. Malthus wanted Mia's soul, specifically demanding that she sacrifice herself to save her infant daughter. Only the intervention of a neighbor, a woman named Evelyn who gave her own life in Mia's place, prevented the demon from claiming its prize. The confrontation between Malthus and the Form family established several important rules about how this demon operates. Unlike some entities that attack indiscriminately, Malthus is bound by a peculiar code. It cannot simply take a soul by force. The soul must be offered willingly, even if that offering comes under duress or manipulation. This is why the demon placed Mia's daughter in danger, creating a situation where the mother would feel compelled to sacrifice herself to save her child. It is a predator that sets traps rather than hunting openly, patient enough to construct elaborate scenarios that will lead its victims to damn themselves. This transactional nature makes Malthus particularly insidious. The demon offers deals, bargains that seem like salvation in moments of desperation, but always benefit the entity in the end. Evelyn's sacrifice satisfied the bargain Malthus had proposed, freeing the Form family from its influence, but the doll itself remained active, waiting for new victims. Eventually, the Annabelle doll came into the possession of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who recognized immediately the danger it represented. They constructed a special case for it in their artifact room, a glass enclosure lined with blessed objects and covered with warnings. The doll could not be destroyed, they believed, because the demon within might simply transfer to another vessel, or worse, be released entirely without any physical anchor. Containment was the only safe option, keeping the doll locked away where it could be monitored and where regular blessings could suppress its power. A sign on the case reads clearly, warning visitors not to touch the glass, not to mock the entity within, not to challenge what they do not understand. For decades, Annabelle sat in her prison, watched by the Warrens and later by their son-in-law Tony Spera, who took over custodianship of the museum after their passing. Annabelle Comes Home explores what happens when that containment fails, even temporarily. When a teenager named Daniela breaks into the Warren artifact room, seeking to contact her recently deceased father, she unknowingly releases Malthus from its imprisonment. The demon does not simply escape on its own. Instead, it acts as a beacon for other spirits in the room, awakening dozens of haunted objects simultaneously. This reveals another aspect of Malthus's power. It can amplify and direct other supernatural entities, serving as a kind of conductor for an orchestra of horrors. The chaos that ensues nearly costs the lives of Judy Warren and her babysitters, as the artifact room becomes a portal through which multiple entities attempt to break free. Only by returning Annabelle to her case and sealing it once more can the teenagers end the nightmare, forcing all the awakened spirits back into dormancy. The physical manifestation of Malthus, when it chooses to appear in its true form, is among the most disturbing images in the entire franchise. Witnesses describe a figure of pure darkness, humanoid but wrong in every proportion, with the head of a black ram complete with curving horns. Its eyes shift between white, yellow, and green depending on its mood and intentions. Sharp teeth fill a mouth that seems too wide, and claws tip fingers that reach with predatory intent. This form appears only rarely, usually in moments of attack or when the demon wishes to intimidate. Most of the time, Malthus prefers to work through the doll, making it move when no one is looking, positioning it in places it should not be, using it as a focus for its power rather than manifesting directly. The doll is both prison and weapon, a limitation and a tool, connecting Malthus to the physical world in ways that would be impossible without such an anchor. The relationship between Valak and Malthus hints at a larger network of demonic cooperation that operates throughout the Conjuring universe. In Annabelle Creation, sharp-eyed viewers can spot Valak lurking in the background of a photograph showing Sister Charlotte with other nuns from the Romanian abbey. This cameo is not accidental. It suggests that Valak was aware of Malthus's activities, perhaps even guiding them from afar. Some theorize that Valak, as a higher-ranking demon in the infernal hierarchy, may have directed Malthus to target Sister Charlotte and the orphans she brought to the Mullins home. The demons of this universe do not operate in isolation. They share information, coordinate attacks, and work toward the common goals that serve the interests of hell itself. When the Warrens faced one demon, they were often facing the influence of many, a web of malevolence that stretched across continents and centuries. We turn now to the entity that started it all, the demon that audiences first encountered in the original Conjuring film, a spirit bound to a Rhode Island farmhouse and the land upon which it stood. Bathsheba Sherman was her name in life, a woman who lived in the 19th century and whose descent into darkness would echo through generations. Unlike Valak and Malthus, who were never human, Bathsheba exists in a space between ghost and demon, a mortal who gave herself so completely to evil that she transformed into something beyond a simple haunting spirit. Her story is one of faith corrupted, of love twisted into something monstrous, of a mother who committed the ultimate betrayal against her own child in service to the master she had chosen over God. The historical Bathsheba Sherman was born in Rhode Island in 1812, and records suggest she was related to Mary Town Easty, one of the women executed during the Salem witch trials of 1692. Whether this connection to accused witchcraft influenced her own path is unknown, but by the time Bathsheba had married and given birth to a child, she had already pledged her soul to Satan. The circumstances of her baby's death remain shrouded in darkness, but the films suggest that she sacrificed the infant as an offering to her dark master, ending an innocent life barely a week after it began. When her husband discovered what she had done, Bathsheba fled to the great tree on their property, climbed to its highest branches, and declared her eternal love for the devil before taking her own life. She was found hanging from that tree at the hour of 3 in the morning, the same hour that would later be known as the demonic witching hour, a mockery of the 3 o'clock hour when Christ is said to have died. Bathsheba's death did not end her presence on the land. Instead, it bound her to it forever, transforming her into a malevolent force that would torment every family who dared to make their home on that cursed ground. Her particular hatred focused on mothers with children, perhaps a reflection of her own terrible act, perhaps a compulsion to repeat her sacrifice through others. Over the years, multiple families reported disturbances at the farmhouse, strange occurrences that ranged from unsettling to deadly. Animals died without explanation. Children woke screaming from nightmares they could not describe. Mothers felt themselves drawn to harm their own offspring, fighting impulses that seemed to come from outside their own minds. By the time the Perron family moved into the house in 1971, bringing with them 5 daughters and hopes for a peaceful country life, Bathsheba had been waiting for more than a century for her next victims. The haunting of the Perrin family began subtly, as such things often do. Clocks stopped at the same time each night, always at 3:07 in the morning. The family dog refused to enter the house and was later found dead under mysterious circumstances. The daughters experienced phenomena that escalated steadily, from strange sounds to physical encounters with entities they could not explain. Carolyn Perrin, the mother, bore the brunt of Bathsheba's attention. She discovered bruises on her body that appeared overnight, felt invisible hands grabbing her, smelled decay in rooms that had been clean moments before. The spirit was testing her, probing for weaknesses, preparing for the possession that would allow Bathsheba to use Carolyn's hands to harm her own children. When Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived to investigate, they found a family under siege by something that had grown powerful through more than 100 years of hatred and dark worship. The appearance of Bathsheba in her demonic form remains one of the most iconic images in modern horror cinema. She manifests as a withered, ancient figure, skin stretched tight over bones that seem too sharp, hair wild and tangled, eyes that hold nothing but malice. The scene in which she appears crouched atop a wardrobe, watching from above while one of the Perron daughters sleeps below, has become legendary among horror fans. There is something primal about the fear she evokes, the terror of being watched by something hungry and patient, something that waits in the dark corners of our rooms while we lie vulnerable in our beds. Bathsheba does not need to chase her victims. She simply waits, knowing that eventually they will let their guard down, that eventually sleep will come, and with it the opportunity she seeks. The possession of Carolyn Perrin represented Bathsheba's ultimate victory, or so the spirit believed. Taking control of the mother's body, she attempted to complete the ritual that had defined her existence since death, the sacrifice of children to Satan. Carolyn, under the demon's influence, tried to harm her own daughters, her love for them buried beneath the weight of an entity that had surrendered all capacity for love long ago. The exorcism that followed pushed Ed Warren beyond his training, beyond even the authority he technically possessed. He was not an ordained priest and should not have performed the ritual, but there was no time to wait for official sanction. His faith had to be enough, and in the end, it was. Speaking the words of exorcism, invoking the power of God against the darkness, Ed drove Bathsheba from Carolyn's body and banished her back to whatever corner of hell had spawned her malevolent spirit. The farmhouse where these events occurred still stands in Rhode Island, still draws curiosity seekers and paranormal investigators who hope to experience something of what the Perrins endured. Reports of continued activity have emerged over the years, suggesting that Bathsheba's banishment may not have been permanent, or that other spirits linger on land that has been steeped in supernatural energy for so long. The new owners have reported phenomena ranging from strange sounds to full apparitions, though nothing as severe as what the Perrins faced. Perhaps Bathsheba's power was diminished by the exorcism. Perhaps she simply bides her time, waiting for circumstances to align once more in her favor. Demons and spirits such as she measure time differently than the living. A few decades of quiet mean nothing to an entity that has already waited more than a century for revenge. From the cold farmhouses of New England, we travel now to warmer climates and older legends, to a spirit born from tragedy in 17th century Mexico, whose weeping has echoed through centuries of folklore. La Llorona, the Weeping Woman, stands apart from the other entities in the Conjuring Universe because she was never a demon at all. She was a woman, a mother, whose grief and guilt transformed her into something that exists between life and death, forever searching for children to replace the ones she lost by her own hand. Her story begins in 1673, in a village where she lived with her husband and 2 young sons, a family that seemed blessed until betrayal shattered everything she believed about her life and her love. The legend varies depending on who tells it, but the core remains the same across countless versions. La Llorona discovered that her husband had been unfaithful, that the life she thought she had was built on lies. In her anguish, in a moment of madness that she would regret for all eternity, she led her children to a river and held them beneath the water until they moved no more. The horror of what she had done struck her immediately, and she threw herself into the same waters, hoping to join her sons in death and perhaps find forgiveness in whatever awaited beyond. But forgiveness was not granted. Instead of passing on, she found herself trapped between worlds, cursed to wander the earth forever, weeping for children she could never reclaim. Her cries became her signature, a mournful sound that drifted through the night, warning all who heard it that death walked nearby. In The Curse of La Llorona, this ancient spirit finds herself in 1973 Los Angeles, far from the Mexican village where her story began, but drawn by the presence of children and the opportunity to ease her eternal sorrow. The film connects to the larger Conjuring Universe through Father Perez, the priest who previously encountered the Annabelle doll and who now serves as a conduit between this story and the Warrens' world. When social worker Ana Garcia inadvertently draws La Llorona's attention to her own children, she finds herself facing a threat that holy water and prayers alone cannot stop. The weeping woman leaves burns on those she touches, marks that brand her victims as belonging to her, claims that she will eventually collect. Her goal is not possession or corruption like the demons we have discussed. She simply wants children, any children, to fill the void left by the ones she destroyed so long ago. What makes La Llorona particularly tragic is the glimpse we see of the woman she once was, the mother who loved her sons before madness took everything away. In one pivotal scene, Anna's son Chris shows La Llorona the necklace she once wore, a gift from her children when they were alive. For a moment, the monster recedes and the mother returns, her spectral face softening as she caresses the boy's cheek, seeing in him the ghost of the sons she mourns. But the moment cannot last. When a mirror reveals her true form, the monster resurfaces and the attack resumes. This duality makes her different from entities like Valak or Malthus, who have never known love or loss in any human sense. La Llorona remembers what it meant to be a mother. That memory is both her curse and, potentially, her only path to redemption, though whether such redemption is possible remains unclear. The defeat of La Llorona comes not through exorcism, but through a weapon tied to her original crime, a cross made from wood that grew at the riverbank where she drowned her children. This fire cross, as it is called, represents the location that witnessed her sin and thus holds power over her spirit. When Anna plunges the cross into La Llorona's chest, the entity is destroyed, or at least banished, her wailing silenced at last. But the post-credits scene of the film suggests that the weeping woman may not be gone forever, that her cries still echo somewhere in the darkness, waiting for another opportunity to emerge. Spirits bound to such profound tragedy rarely find true peace. They linger at the edges of our world, sustained by the very grief that created them, unable to move forward but equally unable to simply cease existing. We return now to England and the case that first revealed Valak to the Warrens, to understand more fully the spirits that haunted the Hodgson family before the demon nun's involvement became clear. Bill Wilkins was a real person who lived and died in the house at 284 Green Street in Enfield, an old man who spent his final years sitting in his favorite chair in the corner of the living room. He passed away in that chair, and something of him remained after death, unable or unwilling to accept that the house he had called home now belonged to others. When the Hodgson family moved in, they inherited not just a house, but a resident ghost who resented their presence. Bill's spirit made itself known through classic poltergeist activity, knocking on walls, moving furniture, speaking through the mouths of the living when words alone could not express his frustration. The voice of Bill Wilkins emerging from young Janet Hodgson remains one of the most chilling elements of The Conjuring 2. In recordings made during the actual Enfield case, investigators captured a deep, masculine voice speaking through the 11-year-old girl, claiming to be Bill Wilkins and demanding that the family leave his home. The voice described how Bill had died, sitting blind in his chair, blood clotting in his brain as his life slipped away. These details were later verified through research, lending credibility to claims that something genuinely supernatural was occurring. In the film, this voice work creates moments of profound unease, the juxtaposition of a child's body and an old man's voice breaking fundamental expectations about what should be possible. Bill Wilkins haunted that house for years, long before Valak arrived to exploit his presence. What the Warrens eventually discovered was that Bill Wilkins himself was not evil, merely confused and territorial in the way that ghosts often are. He did not want to harm the Hodgsons. He simply wanted acknowledgement, wanted someone to understand that he had existed and that the house still belonged to him in some spiritual sense. The true threat came from Valak, who used Bill's ghost as a disguise and a distraction. While the Warrens focused on the poltergeist activity, the demon worked in the background, strengthening its hold on Janet and preparing for the confrontation to come. Bill Wilkins was a pawn in a game he did not understand, manipulated by an entity so far beyond his comprehension that he could not resist even if he tried. In the end, after Valak was banished, Bill's spirit may have finally found rest, no longer useful to the demon, and perhaps finally able to move on from the house that had anchored him to the mortal world. The Crooked Man represents Valak's ability to weaponize childhood fears, to take something meant to comfort and twist it into nightmare fuel. The nursery rhyme from which this entity draws its form is old and seemingly innocent, a simple verse about a crooked man who walked a crooked mile, lived in a crooked house, and in all ways embodied crookedness. In the Hodgson home, this rhyme was attached to a zoetrope, a Victorian toy that creates the illusion of movement through spinning images. When Valak activated this device, the Crooked Man stepped out of the illustrations and into reality, a towering figure nearly 7 feet tall with limbs that bent at impossible angles and a face stretched into a permanent grimace. The creature moved in jerking, stuttering motions, as if reality itself struggled to accommodate its existence. The design of the Crooked Man draws on primal fears, the terror of proportions gone wrong, of human forms twisted beyond recognition. Director James Wan worked closely with actor Javier Botet, whose naturally elongated frame and contortionist abilities brought the creature to life without extensive digital effects. Botet performed many of his scenes moving backward, with the footage then reversed to create an uncanny quality of movement that no normal actor could achieve. The result is an entity that feels fundamentally alien despite wearing a human shape. Something that walks and speaks but should not exist by any natural law. Though the Crooked Man was ultimately just another mask for Valak, plans were made to give this creature its own spin-off film, a testament to the impact it made on audiences in its relatively brief screen time. The year 1981 brought the Warrens face to face with a different kind of evil, one that operated through human hands as much as supernatural power. The case of Arne Cheyenne Johnson would become infamous, not for the haunting itself, but for what followed. The first time in American legal history that demonic possession was used as a defense in a murder trial. The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It tells this story, weaving together the possession of a young boy, the sacrifice of a man who loved him, and the machinations of a human occultist who served as the architect of tragedy. This case demonstrated that demons do not always work alone, that sometimes the most dangerous threat comes from those who willingly invite darkness into the world and direct it toward others. The story begins with David Glatzel, an 8-year-old boy who began experiencing terrifying visions after his family moved into a new home in Connecticut. David spoke of a man who visited him at night, a figure with dark features and a horrible face who whispered terrible things and left the boy trembling with fear. His behavior changed dramatically, becoming violent and erratic in ways that alarmed his family beyond anything they could explain through normal childhood troubles. The Glatzels sought help from their church, and eventually the Warrens became involved, recognizing the signs of demonic infestation that they had witnessed so many times before. What they found was a child under siege, his young mind battered by an entity that sought to claim his soul entirely. The exorcism of David Glatzel was a prolonged and harrowing affair, stretching across multiple sessions as the demon within him fought against every prayer and invocation. During one of these sessions, something happened that would change the course of multiple lives forever. Arne Cheyenne Johnson, the boyfriend of David's older sister Debbie, was present at the exorcism, watching helplessly as the child he cared for suffered under demonic assault. In a moment of desperate courage or perhaps reckless love, Arne called out to the demon, challenging it to leave the boy and take him instead. He offered himself as a substitute, willing to bear whatever torment awaited if it meant freeing David from the entity's grasp. The demon, it seems, accepted this invitation. In the days and weeks that followed, Arne began to change. He experienced blackouts, periods of time he could not account for, during which he would behave in ways completely unlike his normal self. He grew aggressive, his temper flaring at small provocations that would never have bothered him before. Ed Warren, who had witnessed the moment of transfer during the exorcism, warned Debbie and Arnie that the demon had indeed jumped from David to this new host, but Arne refused to believe that anything supernatural had taken root within him. He attributed his symptoms to stress, to lack of sleep, to anything other than the terrible truth that he had made a bargain with something that would demand payment in blood. The payment came on February 16, 1981, when Arne Johnson killed his landlord Alan Bono in a brutal attack that left the man dead from multiple stab wounds. Witnesses described Arne as acting strangely in the moments before the violence, growling and snarling like an animal, his face contorted into expressions that did not seem entirely human. When police arrived to arrest him, Arne claimed to have no memory of the attack, no understanding of what had happened or why. The Warrens immediately recognized what they were dealing with and convinced Arne's defense attorney to pursue an unprecedented legal strategy, arguing that Arna was not responsible for his actions because he had been possessed by a demonic entity at the time of the killing. The trial of Arna Johnson drew national attention, with media outlets fascinated by the intersection of supernatural claims and the American legal system. The judge ultimately ruled that demonic possession could not be used as a defense, lacking the scientific or legal framework necessary to evaluate such claims. Arna was convicted of manslaughter rather than murder, receiving a sentence of 10 to 20 years, of which he served 5 before being released. He married Debbie Glatzel while incarcerated, and the two remained together for decades afterward, their bond somehow surviving a tragedy that had tested it in unimaginable ways. The case remained controversial, with some viewing Arna as a victim of forces beyond his control, and others dismissing the supernatural elements entirely. What The Conjuring the Devil Made Me Do It adds to this historical case is the figure of the occultist, a woman named Isla who serves as the true architect of the horrors that befell the Glatzel and Johnson families. Isla was raised by her father, a former priest named Kastner, who had spent his career investigating satanic cults and dark magic. Surrounded from childhood by books and artifacts related to the occult, Isla developed a fascination that eventually consumed her, transforming from curious child to practicing witch to something far darker. She learned to summon demons and bind them to her will, using them as tools to spread chaos and claim souls for hell. The curse that struck David Glatzel was her doing, delivered through a witch's totem hidden beneath the family's waterbed, a conduit for demonic energy that marked the boy for possession. The demon that Isla commanded operated differently from entities like Valak or Malthus. It was bound not to an object or a location, but to a contract, an agreement that required specific conditions to be fulfilled. The curse demanded 3 souls, each representing a different category of victim. The first was the child, initially David but transferred to Arna when he offered himself as substitute. The second was the lover, a woman named Jessica in Massachusetts who killed her girlfriend Katie before taking her own life, another of Isla's victims operating under the same curse. The third was to be the man of God, and Isla chose Ed Warren himself, placing a totem in the Warren home to mark him as the final sacrifice. If all 3 souls were claimed through murder and suicide, the curse would be complete, and Isla would receive whatever dark reward her demonic masters had promised. The confrontation between Lorraine Warren and Isla took place in tunnels beneath the occultist's childhood home, a network of passages where she had built an altar to the forces she served. Lorraine discovered that destroying the altar would break the curse, severing the connection between Isla and the demon she had summoned. But the occultist would not surrender easily, using her power to turn Ed against his wife, possessing him just as Arna had been possessed, and sending him to kill the woman he loved. What saved them both was the strength of their bond, the decades of love and partnership that had defined their lives together. Lorraine reached through the possession to the man beneath, reminding Ed of their first date, of the gazebo where they had sheltered from the rain and fallen deeper in love. That memory was enough to break the demon's hold, to bring Ed back to himself, to allow them to destroy the altar together. The demon that served Isla did not accept failure gracefully. The contract it had made required a soul, and with the curse broken and the altar destroyed, only one soul remained that it could claim. Isla herself became the final victim of her own machinations, her body twisted and broken by the entity she had thought to control. In the end, she was dragged to whatever fate awaits those who bargain with hell, and fail to deliver what they promise. The demon returned to the pit from which it came, its mission unfulfilled, but its hunger temporarily sated by the soul of its summoner. It was a reminder that demons are not allies to those who invoke them, not partners in any meaningful sense. They are predators who tolerate being pointed at prey, but will turn on their handlers the moment opportunity allows. We come now to the most recent chapter in the Warren saga, the case that served as their final major investigation and brought them face to face with an entity that had been hunting their family for decades. The Conjuring Last Rites tells the story of the Smurl haunting, a case that occurred in Pennsylvania in 1986 and drew significant media attention at the time. But the film weaves this historical case together with a larger mythology, connecting the Smurls' suffering to a demon that first encountered the Warrens more than 20 years earlier. An entity bound to an antique mirror that would not rest until it claimed what it believed belonged to it. The story begins in 1964, when Ed and Lorraine were called to investigate strange occurrences at a curio shop filled with antique objects. Among the items in the shop was an ornate mirror, old and beautiful, its frame carved with designs that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Lorraine, pregnant with their daughter Judy at the time, felt drawn to the mirror despite every instinct warning her to stay away. When she touched the glass, something reached back, a presence that flooded her mind with visions of darkness and death. The shock sent her into premature labor, and by the time Ed got her to the hospital, their daughter had been born still and silent, showing no signs of life. For long moments, it seemed that the demon in the mirror had claimed its first victim before she had even taken her first breath. But Judy Warren did not stay dead. After what felt like an eternity of desperate prayer and medical intervention, she drew breath and opened her eyes, returned from wherever she had briefly gone. The doctors called it a miracle. The Warrens suspected something else, that the demon had marked their daughter, in that moment between life and death, had claimed her in some spiritual sense, even if it could not keep her body. Judy grew up experiencing visions like her mother, seeing things that others could not, sensing presences that lurked at the edges of normal perception. Lorraine taught her to suppress these abilities, to build walls in her mind that would keep the darkness at bay. She did not tell Judy about the mirror or the entity that lurked within it. Some knowledge is too heavy for a child to carry. The mirror passed through various hands over the following decades, leaving a trail of tragedy wherever it traveled. Eventually, it found its way to the Smurl family in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, just another antique in a home filled with furniture and decorations accumulated over years of married life. Jack and Janet Smurl had no idea what they had invited into their home, no understanding of the darkness that had attached itself to the beautiful old mirror now hanging in their hallway. The manifestations began slowly, as they always do. Strange sounds and unexplained shadows, the feeling of being watched in rooms that should have been empty. Then the activity escalated, becoming violent and terrifying, targeting the Smurl family with an intensity that left them desperate for help. The entity in the mirror did not operate alone. It commanded 3 spirits, the ghosts of a family that had lived on the land generations before, a man who had killed his wife and her mother in a fit of rage. These spirits served as the demon's foot soldiers, manifesting throughout the Smurl home, attacking family members, creating the phenomena that drew media attention and eventually brought the Warrens back into the story. But the 3 ghosts were merely puppets, their strings pulled by something far more powerful that lurked within the mirror's glass, watching, waiting, planning. When Ed and Lorraine arrived to investigate, they recognized immediately that they were dealing with more than a simple haunting. The demon's presence filled the house with a weight that pressed against their spirits, a malevolence that Lorraine had felt only once before, decades ago, in a curio shop where she had nearly lost everything. The demon's true target was never the Smurl family. They were bait, their suffering designed to draw the Warrens into a confrontation that had been decades in the making. The entity wanted Judy, wanted to complete the claim it had started when she was born, wanted to drag her soul into whatever darkness it called home. When Judy learned of the Smurl case and traveled to Pennsylvania to investigate on her own, she was walking directly into a trap that the demon had spent 20 years preparing. Her visions, the abilities she had inherited from her mother, made her vulnerable in ways that ordinary people were not. She could see the demon's true form, could perceive the spirits it commanded, but this perception worked both ways. The demon could see her too, could reach into her mind, could exploit the connection that had existed between them since her first moment of life. The possession of Judy Warren represented the demon's greatest victory, and ultimately its final defeat. Taking control of her body, the entity tried to force her to end her own life, to complete the sacrifice that would give it permanent claim to her soul. Ed and Lorraine fought desperately to save their daughter, but the demon's power within its own domain was immense, and the mirror served as an anchor that made banishment nearly impossible. What turned the tide was Lorraine's decision to reverse everything she had taught Judy about her gifts. Instead of suppressing her abilities, Judy needed to embrace them, to use her connection to the spiritual realm as a weapon rather than a vulnerability. Mother and daughter joined their power together, their combined faith and love creating a force that the demon could not withstand. The destruction of the mirror ended the entity's hold on the physical world, shattering the anchor that had allowed it to persist for so long. The demon was banished. The three spirits it commanded were freed from their servitude, and the Smurl family could finally know peace. The shards of the mirror were collected and placed in the Warren artifact room, too dangerous to leave uncontained but hopefully too fragmented to ever pose a threat again. For Ed and Lorraine, this case marked the end of an era, their final major investigation before age and health forced them into retirement. They had spent their lives standing between humanity and the darkness that hunts us, and in this last battle, they had saved not just strangers, but their own daughter from a fate worse than death. The Warren Occult Museum, where so many of these cursed objects reside, has become a place of pilgrimage for those fascinated by the supernatural. For decades, it occupied the basement of the Warren home in Connecticut, a collection that grew with each case they investigated, each artifact they confiscated from locations where evil had taken root. The museum was not open to the general public, accessible only through special tours that the Warrens conducted personally, walking visitors through rooms filled with objects that radiated malevolence even through their glass cases. They would tell the stories behind each item, warning visitors never to touch, never to mock, never to challenge the entities that remained bound to these physical anchors. Some visitors reported feeling watched. Others experienced headaches or nausea that passed as soon as they left the building. A few claimed to have seen things moving in their peripheral vision, shadows that flickered and vanished when looked at directly. After Lorraine Warren passed away in 2019, the museum's future became uncertain. Tony Spera, husband to the Warrens' daughter Judy, had taken over custodianship of the collection and continued to maintain the blessings and protections that kept the artifacts contained. But the question of what would happen to these objects in the long term remained unanswered. Recently, the house and its contents have found new caretakers who plan to reopen the museum to visitors, continuing the legacy that Ed and Lorraine built over more than half a century. Whether this is wise remains to be seen. The objects in that collection are not exhibits in the usual sense. They are prisons, cells holding entities that would escape if given the chance. Each visitor who passes through those rooms brushes against powers that most people spend their entire lives pretending do not exist. Among the many artifacts housed in the Warren collection, few are as visually striking or mythologically rich as the coins of the ferryman, an entity that draws its power from one of humanity's oldest beliefs about death and what follows. In ancient Greek mythology, the dead were buried with coins placed over their eyes or under their tongues, payment for Charon, the ferryman who would row their souls across the river Styx to the underworld. Those who could not pay were doomed to wander the shores of the river for 100 years, lost between the world of the living and whatever awaited beyond. The ferryman of the Conjuring Universe takes this myth and twists it into something far more sinister. A collector of souls who does not simply transport the dead, but keeps them, adding them to a growing collection of spirits that serve his will. The Warrens first encountered the ferryman during an investigation into the death of a young girl, a case that led them to discover coins that had been placed over the eyes of corpses in ways that suggested ritual rather than tradition. These coins were not offerings meant to ease passage to the afterlife. They were bindings, anchors that tied the souls of the dead to the entity that had claimed them. The ferryman demanded payment, but the payment was not for transportation. It was tribute, a toll that granted him ownership of the soul in question. Those who died within his influence, who had the coins placed upon their eyes by his spiritual hand, became his property forever, their spirits added to a procession of the damned that followed wherever he went. In Annabelle Comes Home, the ferryman emerges from dormancy when Daniela's meddling with the artifact room awakens the various entities contained within. His appearance is deeply unsettling, a gaunt figure wrapped in dark robes, his face obscured except for the 2 coins that rest where his eyes should be, gleaming with a dull metallic light that suggests neither gold nor silver, but something older and more corrupt. He moves through the Warren home, trailing the spirits of his victims behind him, corpses with coins over their eyes that line the hallways like a macabre honor guard. When Mary Ellen ventures into the artifact room to retrieve the Annabelle doll, she finds herself walking through a corridor of coffins, each containing one of the ferryman's claimed souls, their dead hands reaching toward her as she passes. The ferryman's method of claiming victims is particularly insidious. He does not attack directly, but rather marks those he intends to take, appearing to them in visions and dreams, letting them see the fate that awaits. Mary Ellen discovers among the ferryman's victims a young woman who bears a striking resemblance to herself, a coincidence that suggests she has been chosen as his next acquisition. The entity seems drawn to certain types of people, though what criteria he uses remains unclear. Perhaps it is something in their spiritual makeup, some quality that makes their souls particularly valuable to his collection. Perhaps it is simply opportunity, the ferryman taking whoever crosses his path when the conditions are right. Whatever the case, those he marks find themselves haunted by visions of coins and corpses until the moment he finally collects what he considers his due. The containment of the ferryman required the Warrens to collect the cursed coins themselves, objects that had been used in his rituals and retained a connection to his power. By blessing these coins and sealing them within their artifact room, they created a kind of cage for the entity, preventing him from roaming freely and claiming new victims. But the ferryman is patient, as all such entities must be. He waited within his prison for years, perhaps decades, until Daniela opened the door and gave him a chance to hunt once more. When the Annabelle doll was finally returned to her case and the artifact room sealed again, the ferryman retreated back into dormancy, his collection no larger than before, but his hunger undiminished. Somewhere in the darkness of that basement, he waits still, coins gleaming in the shadows. Another entity that emerged during the chaos of Annabelle Comes Home was the creature known as Black Shuck, or sometimes simply the Hellhound, a demonic canine that stalks its prey through fog and darkness. The name Black Shuck comes from English folklore, where it refers to a ghostly black dog that haunts the coastlines and countryside of East Anglia. Sightings of this creature date back centuries, with witnesses describing a massive hound with eyes that glow like fire and a presence that foretells death or disaster. In some versions of the legend, merely seeing Black Shuck is enough to curse you, marking you for death within the year. In others, the creature actively hunts those unfortunate enough to cross its path, running them down with supernatural speed and savaging them with teeth and claws that leave wounds no ordinary animal could inflict. The Warrens' encounter with Black Shuck connects to one of their more unusual cases, the investigation of a man named Bill Ramsey, who believed himself to be possessed by a werewolf spirit. Ramsey was from Southend-on-Sea in England, and his affliction had manifested since childhood, causing him to growl, snarl, and attack people during episodes that he could not control or remember. His hands would curl into claws, his face would contort into something bestial, and his strength would increase far beyond normal human limits. The Warrens traveled to England to meet him, and eventually arranged for an exorcism that they claimed freed him from the entity's influence. They wrote about this case in a book titled Werewolf, a true story of demonic possession, documenting what they believed to be a genuine case of a man possessed by a lycanthropic spirit. In the film, Black Shuck manifests as a creature of shadow and fog, a massive canine shape that seems to be made more of darkness than flesh. It patrols the exterior of the Warren home during the night of chaos, preventing the teenagers trapped inside from simply fleeing to safety. Bob, Mary Ellen's would-be boyfriend, finds himself cornered in the Warrens' chicken coop, listening to the creature prowl outside, hearing it kill chickens one by one as it searches for him. The sound design in these scenes emphasizes the otherworldly nature of Black Shuck, its growls carrying frequencies that seem to resonate in the chest rather than the ears, its movements accompanied by a rushing sound like wind through dead leaves. This is not a natural predator. This is something that wears the shape of a dog, the way Valak wears the shape of a nun, a mockery of familiar forms that makes the wrongness all the more apparent. Unlike traditional werewolves of cinema, Black Shuck cannot be destroyed by silver bullets or any other physical means. It is a spirit, not a flesh and blood creature, and spirits can only be contained or banished, never truly killed. The Warrens bound it using a book, a text that presumably contained information about the entity, or perhaps rituals used to summon or control it. By blessing this book and sealing it in their artifact room, they created an anchor that held Black Shuck in place, preventing it from roaming free and hunting new victims. When the artifact room was breached, the Hellhound broke free of its containment, but only temporarily. The restoration of order at the film's end returned it to its prison, where it remains to this day, a shadow within shadows, waiting for another opportunity to hunt. The artifact room contains countless other objects with their own dark histories, some explored in the films, and others merely glimpsed in passing. The wedding dress known as the bride hangs in a case of its own, a beautiful white gown that carries a terrible curse. According to the lore established in Annabelle Comes Home, whoever wears this dress will be compelled to murder their fiancé. Their love transformed into violence by whatever entity has attached itself to the fabric. The true story behind this artifact is never fully explained in the films. We do not know who first wore the dress or what circumstances led to its cursing. We see only its effects when Daniela is briefly possessed by the spirit within it, her personality subsumed by an entity that manifests as a spectral bride with a knife, intent on continuing the cycle of violence that defines its existence. The samurai armor that stands sentinel in one corner of the artifact room carries with it the screams of its previous victims, sounds that echo in the mind of anyone who draws too close. This suit of armor, ornate and ancient, once belonged to a warrior whose deeds in life were dark enough to leave a spiritual residue that persists centuries after his death. Those who approach the armor report hearing voices crying out in Japanese, the final words of those who fell before this warrior's blade. Mary Ellen experiences this phenomenon directly, the screams flooding her consciousness and leaving her momentarily paralyzed with horror. The armor itself moves, its helmet turning to follow the teenagers as they navigate the artifact room, suggesting that whatever spirit inhabits it retains some awareness of its surroundings even in its contained state. Among the more unusual objects in the collection is a game called Feely Mealy, a children's toy that requires players to reach into holes in the sides of a box, feeling for objects within without being able to see them. In its original innocent form, the game was meant to be fun, a test of tactile recognition that would make children laugh and squirm. But the version in the Warren collection has been corrupted, transformed into a conduit for something that lurks within the box, something that grabs back when hands reach inside. During the events of Annabelle Comes Home, this game becomes active, its holes revealing not harmless toys, but grasping demonic hands that seize anyone foolish enough to reach within. The exact nature of the entity within the game is never explained, another mystery among the hundreds housed in that basement. The television set that sits among the artifacts is perhaps the most subtly disturbing object in the collection, not because of what it does, but because of what it reveals. This antique set, from an era when televisions were furniture as much as electronics, shows images of the future, but only the near future, seconds or minutes ahead of the present moment. When Daniela looks into its screen, she sees herself moments from now, sees events that have not yet happened but will soon occur. This might seem like a useful power, a way to anticipate danger and avoid it. But the television does not show pleasant futures. It shows only horror, only danger, only the terrible things that are about to happen to whoever gazes into its flickering display. It is a window into tomorrow's nightmares, offering knowledge that brings no comfort, only the certainty that suffering is coming, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. The psychology of haunted objects has fascinated researchers and believers alike for centuries. How can evil attach itself to inanimate matter? What is it about certain objects that allows them to serve as anchors for supernatural entities? The Warrens believed that objects could become spiritually charged through their proximity to evil acts, through rituals performed upon them, or through direct demonic attachment. A doll used in satanic ceremonies absorbs some of the darkness invoked during those rites. A mirror that witnessed violence retains an echo of that violence in its glass. A piece of jewelry worn by someone during their possession carries a trace of the entity that possessed them. These objects are not evil in themselves, but have become vessels for evil, containers that hold darkness the way a bottle holds water. The Warren approach to dealing with such objects was containment rather than destruction. Ed Warren often said that destroying a cursed object risked releasing whatever entity was bound to it, freeing a demon that had been safely anchored to roam the world without restriction. Better to keep the object intact and imprisoned, surrounded by blessed items and regular prayers that weakened the entity within. This philosophy shaped their museum, which functioned less as a collection of curiosities and more as a spiritual prison, a place where dangerous forces were held in check through constant vigilance and faith. The objects could not hurt anyone as long as they remained in their cases, as long as the blessings were maintained, as long as no one was foolish enough to touch what should not be touched. The question of what happens to these entities when their anchoring objects are destroyed remains open. In some cases within the Conjuring Universe, destruction seems to banish the entity entirely, as with the mirror in Last Rites, which was shattered to end the demon's influence. In other cases, destruction risks releasing the entity to find a new anchor, potentially one that is harder to track and contain. The inconsistency may reflect the different natures of different entities, some bound so tightly to their objects that they cannot survive separation, others merely using the objects as convenient dwelling places that they could abandon if necessary. The Warrens erred on the side of caution, preferring containment to destruction unless destruction was absolutely necessary, unless there was no other way to stop the evil in question. Beyond the major demons and the cursed artifacts, the Conjuring Universe is populated by countless lesser spirits and supernatural phenomena that appear briefly but leave lasting impressions. There are the ghosts of the Perron family's farmhouse, spirits of those who died on that cursed land over generations, victims of Bathsheba's influence who never found rest. There are the spirits in the Hodgson home beyond Bill Wilkins, presences that contributed to the poltergeist activity without ever being clearly identified or explained. There are the entities that the Warrens encountered in cases never depicted on screen, hinted at through newspaper clippings and photographs visible in their home, each representing a story of terror and eventual resolution. The universe is vast, filled with more darkness than any single film or series of films could fully explore. The theology that underlies all of this supernatural activity is distinctly Catholic in nature, reflecting both the Warrens' personal faith and the traditions from which Western demonology emerged. Holy water burns demonic flesh. Crucifixes repel evil spirits. The name of Christ spoken in faith carries power that demons cannot withstand. Exorcism rituals draw on centuries of Catholic tradition, invoking saints and angels and the authority of the Church to command entities back to hell. This is a universe where faith is not merely a comfort, but a weapon, where belief has tangible effects on the spiritual plane, where the battle between good and evil is literal rather than metaphorical. The Warrens understood themselves as soldiers in this battle, their investigations a form of spiritual warfare that put their very souls at risk each time they confronted the darkness. The inheritance of spiritual gifts runs through families in this universe, passed from parent to child like any other genetic trait. Lorraine Warren received her clairvoyant abilities from sources she never fully understood, gifts that manifested in childhood and grew stronger with age and practice. Her daughter Judy inherited a measure of these abilities, seeing spirits and sensing presences that others could not perceive. The connection between Sister Irene and Lorraine through the bloodline of Saint Lucy suggests that such gifts may stretch back generations, perhaps even centuries, with certain families serving as repositories of spiritual power that makes them uniquely suited to confront supernatural evil. This also makes them targets. Demons recognize the threat that such gifted individuals pose and often seek to eliminate them before they can fully develop their abilities. The disciples of the Ram represent a thread of human evil that weaves through multiple films in the Conjuring Universe. A satanic cult whose activities have facilitated demonic incursions for decades. This organization first appears in the original Annabelle film, when cultists invade the home of John and Mia Form, bringing violence and darkness with them. The young woman who would become known as Annabelle Higgins was a member of this cult, having joined after running away from her adoptive family as a teenager. She and a male companion broke into the Form home seeking blood sacrifice, and though they were stopped before completing their ritual, Annabelle managed to transfer the demonic attachment she carried into the porcelain doll that would bear her name. The cult's symbol, a ram's head, appears throughout the franchise as a marker of their influence. The choice of a ram as their symbol is not arbitrary. In various occult traditions, the ram represents power, virility, and sacrifice, but it also carries darker connotations connecting to demonic imagery. Malthus, the demon that inhabits the Annabelle doll, manifests with the head of a black ram, horns curving from a skull that seems carved from shadow itself. The disciples of the Ram may have specifically worshipped this entity, or they may have simply adopted imagery associated with demonic power more broadly. Either way, their activities created conditions favorable to demonic activity, their rituals and sacrifices thinning the veil between our world and whatever darkness lies beyond. When Isla, the occultist, performed her curses in The Devil Made Me Do It, she drew on knowledge and practices that originated with this cult, her father having studied them during his years as a priest investigating satanic activity. The existence of organized devil worship raises uncomfortable questions about the nature of evil in the Conjuring Universe. The demons we have discussed are supernatural beings, entities that exist outside human morality and human understanding. But the disciples of the Ram are people, men and women who chose to align themselves with darkness, who performed rituals knowing they would cause suffering, who sacrificed lives in pursuit of power or forbidden knowledge. They are not possessed, not controlled, not victims of supernatural influence. They are collaborators, human agents who serve demonic masters voluntarily. In some ways, they are more frightening than the demons themselves, because they remind us that evil does not require supernatural origins. It can grow in human hearts, nurtured by human choices, until it becomes indistinguishable from the demonic forces it serves. Father Kastner, Isla's father in The Devil Made Me Do It, represents a different kind of tragedy. A man who spent his life fighting evil only to see it corrupt his own child. As a priest, Kastner investigated satanic cults and demonic activity, collecting books and artifacts related to the occult so that he could better understand the enemy he faced. He kept these materials in his home, believing that knowledge was power, that understanding evil was the first step toward defeating it. But his daughter Isla grew up surrounded by these dark texts, her curiosity drawing her to forbidden pages that Kastner never thought to hide from her. The very tools he had gathered to fight evil became the instruments of his daughter's corruption, his life's work twisted into something that would ultimately destroy him. The tunnels beneath Kastner's home, where Isla built her altar and performed her curses, suggest that evil has a way of creating sacred spaces for itself, corrupting locations just as it corrupts objects and people. These underground passages became a temple of sorts, a place where the boundary between worlds grew thin enough for Isla to reach through and touch the powers she sought to serve. The altar itself was the focus of her power, a construction of symbols and offerings that anchored her connection to the demon she commanded. When Ed Warren destroyed this altar, he was not merely smashing physical objects, but severing a spiritual connection, closing a door that Isla had spent years forcing open. The tunnels remain, presumably, though whatever dark energy once filled them has likely dissipated with the altar's destruction. The question of what motivates human servants of evil varies from character to character in the Conjuring Universe. Isla sought power, the ability to cause suffering and chaos, perhaps also some twisted form of paternal approval, showing her father that his teachings had been absorbed even if not in the way he intended. The members of the Disciples of the Ram likely sought similar things: power and belonging, and the thrill of transgression. Bathsheba Sherman was motivated by devotion to Satan himself, a love of evil for its own sake that led her to sacrifice her own child. Patricia Alvarez in The Curse of La Llorona acted from grief and rage, invoking La Llorona to punish the woman she blamed for her son's deaths. Each represents a different path to darkness, a different answer to the question of why humans would willingly ally themselves with forces that ultimately seek to destroy everything human. The Warren family's role as guardians against the supernatural has now passed to a new generation, with Tony Spira and Judy Warren carrying forward the legacy that Ed and Lorraine built over more than 50 years. Tony met Judy through her parents' work, initially skeptical of their claims, but gradually coming to accept the reality of the supernatural through first-hand experience. He became Ed's protege, learning the techniques and prayers necessary to confront demonic entities, eventually marrying Judy and becoming part of the family in every sense. After Ed's death in 2006 and Lorraine's in 2019, Tony took responsibility for maintaining the occult museum and continuing the work that the Warrens had begun. He has spoken publicly about the artifacts in his care, warning visitors about the dangers they represent, while also affirming that the protections put in place remain effective. Judy Warren's life has been shaped by her parents' work in ways both visible and invisible. Growing up in a home filled with cursed objects and demonic residue left its mark on her, as did the abilities she inherited from her mother. In The Conjuring Last Rites, we see her struggle with these gifts, trying to live a normal life while visions of darkness intrude upon her consciousness. Her engagement to Tony and their eventual marriage represented a choice to embrace her family's legacy rather than flee from it, to stand alongside her husband as her parents stood alongside each other. The film suggests that Judy has come into her own as a spiritual warrior, no longer suppressing her abilities, but wielding them against the entities that threaten those she loves. The torch has been passed, and the fight continues. The chronological timeline of the Conjuring Universe spans centuries, from La Llorona's origin in 1673 to the Smurl haunting in 1986, with demonic activity persisting across generations and continents. The Nun films take us to Romania in 1952 and 1956, showing Valak's emergence and Sister Irene's battles against the demonic entity. Annabelle Creation brings us to 1955 California, where the Mullins family tragedy sets in motion events that will reverberate for decades. The original Annabelle takes place in 1967, followed by Annabelle Comes Home in 1972. The Curse of La Llorona unfolds in 1973, the same period during which the first Conjuring film is set. The Conjuring 2 jumps to 1976 and 1977, The Devil Made Me Do It to 1981, and Last Rites to 1986. Each film adds another layer to a tapestry of terror that spans the better part of 4 centuries. This extended timeline reveals patterns in how demonic activity manifests and spreads. Valak's influence, for instance, can be traced from the Romanian abbey in the 1950s through the Annabelle doll's creation and eventually to the Hodgson home in England in the late 1970s. The demon did not simply appear at each location independently, but followed a path, pursuing specific targets for reasons tied to its nature and its goals. Similarly, Malthus moved from the Mullins home to the Form family to the Warren Museum, each step bringing it closer to the heart of paranormal investigation in America. These are not random hauntings but connected events, moves in a game that demons play across decades, using human lives as pieces on a board that we can barely perceive. The consistency of certain rules across all these films suggests an underlying logic to how the supernatural operates in this universe. Demons cannot enter without invitation, whether that invitation comes through Ouija boards, occult rituals, or desperate prayers that open doors best left closed. Holy objects and symbols carry genuine power, capable of repelling and even harming demonic entities when wielded with true faith. The names of demons give power over them, which is why they hide their identities behind masks and proxies. Exorcism works, but only when performed by those with the spiritual authority and genuine belief necessary to command entities back to hell. These rules create a framework within which the stories operate, limitations that both constrain and define the battles between human and demon. The Warrens' case files, upon which all these films are based, number in the thousands, representing decades of investigations into claims of supernatural activity. Not every case involved genuine demonic presence. Many were misunderstandings, psychological episodes, or outright hoaxes that investigation quickly revealed. But among those thousands of files were cases that defied rational explanation. Encounters with forces that left even skeptical observers struggling to find natural causes. The films dramatize these cases significantly, adding characters and conflicts that serve narrative purposes rather than strict historical accuracy. But the core claims, the families who believed themselves haunted, the phenomena they reported, the Warrens' involvement and conclusions, these elements remain rooted in something that actually happened, or at least something that people genuinely believed happened. The distinction between what is real and what is dramatized matters less within the context of the films themselves, which present their events as factual and ask audiences to accept them on those terms. Within the universe established by these movies, demons are real, possession is real, and the Warrens were genuine warriors against supernatural evil. Skepticism exists in this world, but it is consistently proven wrong, the doubters forced to confront evidence that shatters their assumptions about what is possible. This creates a particular kind of horror, the terror of knowing that the rational framework we use to understand the world is incomplete, that there are forces operating beyond our comprehension, that faith is not superstition but survival strategy. the Conjuring Universe is a world where the worst things imaginable are also true. What sets this franchise apart from other horror series is its emphasis on love as the primary weapon against evil. Ed and Lorraine Warren's marriage serves as the emotional core of every Conjuring film, their devotion to each other providing strength when facing entities that would destroy them. In The Conjuring 2, it is Lorraine's love for Ed that drives her to continue investigating despite her terror of the visions Valak sends. In The Devil Made Me Do It, the Warrens' love breaks the demon's hold on Ed when nothing else can reach him. In Last Rites, the entire family works together, their bonds proving stronger than the entity that has hunted them across decades. Love does not guarantee victory in this universe, but it makes victory possible, providing the foundation upon which faith can be built and maintained. The demons of the Conjuring Universe, for all their power and malevolence, seem unable to comprehend this love or the strength it provides. Valak tried to destroy the Warrens by showing Lorraine visions of Ed's death, assuming that fear of loss would paralyze her. Instead, it motivated her to fight harder, to find the demon's name and banish it so that her husband would be safe. Malthus offered bargains predicated on selfishness, assuming that people would sacrifice others to save themselves. Instead, Evelyn sacrificed herself to save Mia, an act of love that the demon could not have predicted because it cannot understand why anyone would choose death for another's sake. The occultist's curse was designed to turn loved ones against each other, but the Warrens' bond proved stronger than any demonic influence. Again and again, love defeats evil in ways that the evil cannot anticipate. This theme resonates beyond the supernatural elements, speaking to something fundamental about human nature and human connection. We live in a world where darkness exists, where evil takes forms both supernatural and mundane, where forces beyond our control threaten everything we hold dear. The Conjuring Universe suggests that the answer to this darkness is not isolation or despair, but connection. The bonds we form with others who share our journey through life. A family that loves each other cannot be easily broken. A marriage built on genuine devotion provides shelter against any storm. Friends who stand together can face terrors that would destroy them individually. The demons may be fictional, but the lesson is real. We are stronger together than we could ever be alone. The physical manifestations of evil in these films, the demonic faces and twisted bodies and impossible phenomena, serve to externalize threats that we normally cannot see. In reality, evil rarely announces itself so clearly. It hides in ordinary forms, wearing human faces, speaking reasonable words, revealing its true nature only when it has already done its damage. The Conjuring Universe makes evil visible, gives it shape and name and form, allows us to point at it and say with certainty that this is wrong, this must be opposed, this can be defeated. There is comfort in such clarity, even when the images are terrifying. Better to face a demon you can see than to live in a world where evil operates invisibly, unrecognized, until it has already won. The night grows deeper, and we have traveled far through shadows that few dare to explore. We have met Valak, the demon nun, whose pale face haunts the nightmares of millions, whose pursuit of the Warren family spanned decades and continents. We have encountered Malthus within his porcelain prison, the ram-headed horror that offered bargains no one should accept. We have walked the cursed grounds where Bathsheba Sherman sacrificed her child and bound herself to evil for eternity. We have heard the weeping of La Llorona echoing across centuries, a mother's grief transformed into something that hunts the living. We have witnessed the occultist's curse and the demon she commanded, evil directed by human hands for human purposes. We have seen the mirror that marked Judy Warren from birth, the ferryman who collects souls for his eternal procession, the hellhound that stalks through fog and darkness. The Warren Occult Museum stands as testament to these encounters, a room full of objects that most people would dismiss as harmless antiques, but that carry within them connections to forces beyond our understanding. The Annabelle doll sits in her case, porcelain face frozen in an expression that might be innocent or might be something else entirely. The shards of the cursed mirror rest in their container, separated but not destroyed, their power diminished but perhaps not extinguished. Coins and dresses and armor and games line the shelves, each with a story of terror and tragedy, each representing a battle fought and, for the moment at least, won. The protections hold. The blessings remain in place. The darkness stays contained, waiting for opportunities that may never come. The question of what awaits these entities in the future remains open, their stories unfinished even as the Warren saga reaches its conclusion. Valak was banished but not destroyed, pushed back into the darkness from which it came but certainly not eliminated. Somewhere beyond the veil that separates our world from theirs, the demon nun waits, perhaps healing from its defeats, perhaps plotting new strategies, perhaps simply patient in ways that humans cannot comprehend. Entities that have existed since before the dawn of humanity do not experience time as we do. A century of dormancy is nothing to a being that remembers the war in heaven, that fell alongside Lucifer when the morning stars were young. Valak will return. The only questions are when and where and whether anyone will be ready to face it. Malthus remains anchored to the Annabelle doll, contained within glass and prayer but never truly defeated. The demon feeds on attention, on fear, on the energy generated when people approach its prison and feel the weight of its presence pressing against their minds. Every visitor to the Warren Museum who pauses before that case, who feels their skin prickle and their heart race, provides sustenance to the entity within. It is a parasite that has learned to survive on smaller meals, waiting for the day when containment fails and it can hunt freely once more. The doll has become famous, arguably the most recognized cursed object in the world, which means that millions of people know its name and fear its power. For a demon that thrives on such recognition, this fame is both imprisonment and nourishment. The other entities we have discussed exist in various states of containment and dormancy. The ferryman's coins rest in their blessed container, the connection to their master weakened but not severed. Black Shuck remains bound to whatever anchor the Warrens used to trap it, the hellhound's hunger undiminished by decades of imprisonment. The bride's dress hangs in its case, the spirit within perhaps dreaming of weddings turned to funerals, of love transformed into violence. Each object in that collection represents an ongoing battle, a siege that the forces of good must maintain indefinitely, because final victory against such entities may not be possible. The best that can be achieved is containment, generation after generation of guardians keeping watch over prisons that must never be allowed to fail. The cultural impact of the Conjuring Universe extends far beyond the films themselves, shaping how modern audiences think about demons, possession, and supernatural evil. Before these films, general knowledge of demonology was limited to those who sought it out, students of the occult or religious scholars who studied such matters professionally. Now, millions of people know the name Valak, recognize the image of the demonic nun, understand concepts like demonic hierarchy and the power of names that were once the province of specialists. This democratization of occult knowledge carries both benefits and risks. People are more aware of traditions and beliefs that have shaped human understanding of evil for centuries. But they may also be more likely to dabble in practices they do not fully understand, opening doors that wiser souls would leave firmly closed. The Warrens themselves have become cultural icons through these films, their legacy preserved and amplified by Hollywood in ways they could never have achieved through their lectures and books alone. Ed and Lorraine Warren were controversial figures in their lifetimes, embraced by believers and dismissed by skeptics, their claims impossible to verify through conventional means. The films do not engage with this controversy, presenting the Warrens as genuine heroes who faced real supernatural threats and emerged victorious through faith and love. This portrayal has shaped public perception of the real Ed and Lorraine, transforming them from fringe figures into mainstream heroes, their names now synonymous with the battle against evil. Whether this representation is accurate matters less than the fact that it exists, that millions of people now think of the Warrens as the films have depicted them. The actors who have portrayed these demonic entities have spoken about the strange experiences that accompanied their performances. Bonnie Aarons, who plays Valak in its nun form, has described feeling a presence on set that she could not explain, a sense that something was watching the production with interest that went beyond mere observation. Joseph Bishara, who has portrayed multiple demons across the franchise including Bathsheba and Malthus, approaches each role as a kind of channeling, attempting to embody the entity rather than merely act it. Whether these experiences reflect genuine supernatural activity or simply the psychological effects of immersing oneself in dark material remains a matter of interpretation. But the consistency of such reports across multiple productions suggests that something about this franchise attracts or generates energies that participants find difficult to dismiss. The design of the demons in these films draws on centuries of artistic tradition depicting supernatural evil, updated for modern audiences while retaining connections to historical imagery. Valak's nun form combines the uncanny valley effect of a human face made wrong with specific visual elements: the pale skin, the dark-rimmed eyes, the teeth too sharp for any natural mouth, that signal predatory intent. Malthus's ram-headed appearance connects to ancient depictions of demonic beings, the goat and ram having long associations with Satan and his servants in Western religious art. The crooked man's elongated, angular form taps into primal fears of proportions gone wrong, the terror we feel when human shapes bend in ways that human bodies should not bend. Each design choice serves both narrative and psychological purposes, creating images that lodge in memory and return in dreams. The sound design of these films contributes as much to their horror as any visual element, creating auditory environments that unsettle even before anything frightening appears on screen. The deep rumbling that accompanies Malthus's presence, the discordant strings that signal Valak's approach, the wet organic sounds that accompany demonic manifestations, all work on levels below conscious awareness to generate unease and dread. Composer Joseph Bishara, who also portrays demons in the franchise, brings a unique perspective to scoring these films, understanding from the inside how these entities should sound. The result is music that feels less composed than channeled, as if the sounds emerged from the same darkness that spawned the entities they accompany. The practical effects used to bring these demons to life deserve recognition for their contribution to the franchise's impact. While digital effects play a role, particularly in larger manifestations and transformation sequences, the core performances rely on practical makeup, prosthetics, and physical acting that gives the entities weight and presence. When Valak reaches toward the camera, that is a real hand extending from a real costume worn by a real performer. When the crooked man unfolds from his zoetrope, that is actor Javier Botet contorting his naturally flexible body into positions that seem impossible. This commitment to practical effects grounds the supernatural in physical reality, making it harder for audiences to dismiss what they see as mere computer trickery. The demons feel real because, in a sense, they are real, physical presences captured on camera rather than added in post-production. The religious themes that permeate the Conjuring universe speak to questions that humanity has grappled with since we first began to contemplate our place in existence. Is there a God? If so, does that God care about us? Is there genuine evil in the world? Not merely human cruelty, but something darker, something that exists outside human nature and seeks our destruction. Are there forces of good that can protect us, saints and angels, and the power of prayer that can shield us from the darkness? These films answer all these questions affirmatively, presenting a universe where faith is not merely comforting but necessary, where the battle between good and evil is literal and ongoing, where ordinary people can stand against supernatural forces and win through the power of belief. This is a deeply religious vision of reality, though one that finds expression through horror rather than traditional devotional forms. The Catholic specificity of the franchise's religious elements reflects both the Warrens' personal faith and broader patterns in Western horror. Catholicism, with its elaborate rituals, its hierarchy of saints and angels, its tradition of exorcism and spiritual warfare, provides rich material for stories about confronting evil. The visual vocabulary of Catholicism, crucifixes and holy water, and priests in vestments speaking Latin prayers, has become the standard visual language for depicting spiritual battle in Western cinema. Other religious traditions have their own approaches to supernatural evil and their own methods of combating it, but these rarely receive the same attention in mainstream horror. The Conjuring universe does not suggest that Catholicism is the only true faith, or that other traditions lack power against evil. It simply tells its stories from a Catholic perspective, using the tools and symbols that tradition provides. The debate between skeptics and believers regarding the reality of supernatural phenomena finds no resolution in these films, which clearly side with the believers while acknowledging that skepticism exists. Characters who dismiss supernatural explanations are consistently proven wrong, their rational frameworks shattered by evidence they cannot explain away. This might seem unfair to skeptics, a stacking of the narrative deck that denies reasonable doubt its due consideration. But horror films are not documentaries, and the Conjuring universe is not attempting to prove that demons exist. It is asking audiences to accept, for the duration of the film, a world where they do, to experience the terror and wonder that such a world would entail. The skeptics in these films serve as stand-ins for the audience's own doubts, their conversion representing the journey that viewers must take to engage with the story being told. The legacy of Ed and Lorraine Warren extends beyond their case files and the films based upon them, touching questions about the nature of evil and our capacity to resist it. Whether you believe their claims or dismiss them entirely, The Warrens dedicated their lives to helping people who believed themselves under supernatural attack. They traveled wherever they were needed, often without compensation, offering what assistance they could to families in crisis. If the supernatural is real, they were heroes who faced genuine darkness on behalf of those too weak to face it themselves. If it is not, they were at minimum sincere in their beliefs, people who genuinely thought they were doing good even if the evil they fought existed only in the minds of their clients. Either way, they provided comfort to thousands of people who had nowhere else to turn, who felt abandoned by a rational world that could not explain what they were experiencing. The darkness that these films explore is not limited to supernatural entities and cursed objects. It encompasses human darkness as well, the capacity for cruelty and evil that exists within our own species. The disciples of the Ram chose to worship demons and perform blood sacrifices. Isla, the occultist, deliberately cursed innocent families to fulfill her pact with hell. Patricia Alvarez invoked La Llorona to murder children in revenge for her own loss. Bathsheba Sherman sacrificed her infant to Satan out of devotion to evil itself. These human villains remind us that demons do not create evil in the world. They merely exploit and amplify what already exists in human hearts. The capacity for darkness lives within us all, and the choice to embrace or resist that darkness defines who we become. The hours grow late, and the shadows lengthen across the walls of rooms we thought we knew. We have journeyed through realms of darkness tonight, meeting entities whose names carry weight in worlds beyond our own. We have learned of Valak the Defiler, the fallen angel who wears a nun's habit to mock the faith of those who oppose it, whose yellow eyes have watched humanity since before we learned to write our histories. We have come to know Malthus, the ram-headed demon who waits within a porcelain shell, patient as stone, hungry as flame, offering bargains that cost everything and deliver nothing. We have walked the grounds where Bathsheba Sherman pledged herself to Satan and bound her malice to the land forever, where mothers still feel dark impulses when they hold their children close. We have heard La Llorona's weeping echo across centuries, the sound of a grief so profound it transcended death and became something that hunts the living, seeking children to replace the ones she cannot bring herself to remember losing. We have witnessed the crooked man unfold from a spinning toy, all wrong angles and hungry teeth, a nursery rhyme made flesh in the worst possible way. We have felt the ferryman's gaze upon us, coins where eyes should be, collecting souls for a procession that never ends, that winds through darkness toward destinations we cannot imagine. We have heard Black Shuck howling in the fog, felt the presence of evil artifacts that wait in blessed prisons for opportunities that may come tomorrow or may come in 1,000 years. The Warren Occult Museum stands as a monument to these encounters, a place where the trophies of spiritual warfare rest under lock and prayer and watchful eyes. Tony Spira maintains the vigil that Ed and Lorraine began, ensuring that blessings remain strong and containment holds firm. The artifacts within those walls do not care about the passage of time. They simply wait, as they have waited for decades, as they will wait for decades more. The Annabelle doll stares through her glass, patient and still, her smile unchanging whether the room is full of visitors or empty in the small hours of the night. Whatever looks out through those painted eyes has nothing but time, nothing but patience, nothing but certainty that eventually, somehow, opportunity will come. But for now, the containment holds. For now, the faithful maintain their watch. For now, we can close our eyes knowing that somewhere, people like the Warrens stand between us and the darkness, armed with nothing but faith and love, and the certainty that good can triumph over evil if only we refuse to surrender. The demons are real in this universe we have explored tonight, but so is the power that opposes them. The night is dark, but dawn always comes eventually. The shadows reach for us, but they can be pushed back by those who believe strongly enough, who love deeply enough, who refuse to let the darkness win. Let these stories settle into your mind like leaves falling on still water, drifting down through layers of consciousness until they find a place to rest. The demons we have met tonight cannot reach you here, cannot touch you where you lie safe and warm, cannot do more than whisper at the edges of dreams that will fade with morning light. They are real, perhaps, somewhere beyond the veil that separates what we know from what we fear. But that veil holds. The prayers spoken over artifacts in a Connecticut basement maintain their power. The faith of those who believe continues to push back against the endless hunger of entities that have waited since before time began. Sleep now, knowing that you have seen the faces of evil and emerged unharmed. Sleep, knowing that the darkness has limits, that it can be named and contained and resisted by those with courage enough to stand against it. Sleep, knowing that love is stronger than fear, that faith is stronger than doubt, that the human spirit carries within it something that even demons cannot corrupt if we choose to protect it. The Conjuring Universe has shown us terrors beyond imagination, but it has also shown us that terrors can be faced and overcome. In the end, that may be the most important lesson these films have to teach. The candle gutters low, casting dancing shadows on walls that have heard too many stories of darkness and light. Somewhere, in a basement full of blessed glass and whispered prayers, an old doll sits motionless, waiting for something that may never come. Somewhere, in the depths that lie beneath abandoned abbeys and forgotten altars, fallen angels nurse ancient grudges and newer wounds, patient as only immortals can be. Somewhere, between the world we see and the worlds we sense only in nightmares, things move in darkness, aware of us even when we are not aware of them, watching, waiting, hoping for the invitation that would let them in. But that invitation need not come. The doors can remain closed. The protections can hold. The faith of those who believe can continue to light candles against the darkness, small flames that together push back shadows that would otherwise consume everything. This is what the Warrens taught through their lives and their work, what the Conjuring Universe teaches through its tales of terror and triumph. We are not helpless before the forces of evil. We have weapons they cannot defeat if only we have the courage to use them. Love, faith, the bonds that connect us to each other and to something greater than ourselves. Rest now. The stories are told. The demons have been named and their histories revealed. Tomorrow brings its own challenges, its own shadows, its own opportunities for darkness to test our resolve. But tonight, you have walked through terror and emerged on the other side, wiser for the journey, strengthened by knowledge that would have been hidden in ages past. The Conjuring Universe will continue to expand, to reveal new horrors and new heroes, new demons and new victories against them. But for now, let silence fall. Let peace settle over troubled thoughts. Let sleep come at last to carry you through the remaining hours of darkness until the sun rises once more on a world where evil exists but does not reign, where demons are real but can be defeated, where the light always returns no matter how long the night.